Hey guys, welcome to My Sew Bliss. Today I'm excited to be partnering with Baby Lock Sewing Machines and bringing you another sewing tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a women's crew neck sweatshirt. Today I'm going to be using the Baby Lock Vibrant. This is the serger in their Genuine collection. It is a great serger for anyone who is just starting out and wants to learn how to use a serger or has never used one before and just needs a basic one in their home. This is the perfect option. I love this one. Let me show you a really cool feature on it that I'm obsessed with. If you've ever seen a serger, you have to thread it right here. It kind of looks a little overwhelming. It's not. I'm going to make a video on how you can thread this as well. So if you do have this machine, pay attention to that as well. But my favorite feature on this is that you hold this little clip down and it opens up completely. And then you have access to all the gears, and threading is so much easier and you can see everything perfectly. Whereas on other machines I've used, this is in the way, it doesn't open up, and it's a little more complicated. So like I said, this is a perfect serger for anyone who's wanting just a basic one in their house, who's just learning how to use a serger. This is great. I highly recommend it. I'll leave links down below for where you can check it out and find all the details on it. So I'm going to be using that today, and along with that I'm going to be using a pattern that I got from Peekaboo Pattern Shop, and this pattern is free if you subscribe to their newsletter or if you sign up for their Facebook group, which is super easy. If you don't want to sign up for that, you can actually just go on their website and pay, like, I think it's $5 for just the pattern if you don't want to sign up for anything. But they have a lot of really good freebies. I've done a few tutorials using their freebies and I just really like them. So I wanted to make a sweatshirt for fall or winter coming up. So I'm super excited about this today. Along with the pattern, I have 2 yards of knit fabric. I already have mine cut out, but I just have this gorgeous striped, it's like a French terry fabric that I got from Joann's last year. And I'm really excited about it. I've been wanting to make like a sweatsuit with it, so hopefully I can do this, and then like some shorts or capris or something to go with it. I don't know. I don't know if I need more sweatpants. We'll see. So other than those things, you're just gonna need your basic sewing supplies. So let's get started. Once you have all of your pieces cut out, we're then gonna start putting them together. So here I have my front piece, and I can tell it's my front piece because it has the lower neckline, whereas the back piece is going to have this higher neckline. So make sure you pay attention to that when you are cutting your pattern out. So then I'm just going to line up my shoulder seams, which are going to be right up here, and I'll just match both shoulder seams up, grab some pins and pin that in place, and then I will take it over to my serger and I'll show you how I'm going to serge that together. Once you're over at your machine, I'm then just going to take my shoulder seams and line them up, and we're stitching, I think it's like 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I can actually move this out. There we go. Perfect. Okay, and so instead of just cutting my threads right there, I just take my other shoulder seam and put that right in and keep going. Okay, and then I will trim that and take it back over to my table. With those shoulder seams complete, now I'm ready. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to insert my sleeves now. And this can look a little tricky, a little confusing, but I promise it's not too bad. I just like to mark the middle of my sleeve. This is the top of my sleeve, and I'm just going to mark right in the middle. And then that piece is actually going to go right where my seam is that we just sewed. So, and you want to make sure that you're doing it right sides together. So it kind of looks funky, but if we match this up, see, those pieces are going to be right sides together. I'm going to pin that right at the seam, and then this side will go right over to the side seam. And I'm going to pin that. And then I'll do the same thing with this side. And actually, after this, I just leave it like that. And then as I'm sewing, I kind of stretch it to fit and maneuver it. But if you would feel more comfortable, you can kind of lay around with it and let it sit in there. Line those edges up, and you can pin a couple more times if you feel more comfortable that way. This right here is going to just need to stretch just ever so slightly. The shirt is going to stretch to fit that sleeve in. So we're setting that sleeve in, and I can do one more on this side as well, just for good measure. And then I like to do both sleeves, but if that's too much and it gets too in the way and confusing for you, you can go ahead and go sew that one first and then come back and do the other one. But I just like doing it all at once. So that way it's one time at my table, and then I go to my serger, and then I come back to my table, and it's not back and forth doing the same things. So I'll just do the exact same thing that I did on the other side. Back over at my serger, here I have my side seam of my shirt and the side seam of my sleeve, and I'm just going to take that pin out and start sewing that. And I just kind of go slow and make sure the seams are still lining up. And also make sure you're not catching anything else. Sometimes when you have this much bulk, it's easy to catch another piece of fabric that's not supposed to be sewn, so watch that. But I just really love how this serger cleans up the edges, especially on knit fabrics. It's just so nice. Okay. And I just go slow and keep adjusting. And then once I get to the end, I just cut it off because we're actually going to sew that again. So it's going to be fine. It'll be locked in place. And then I just switch over to the other sleeve and I will sew that down. Once you have those sleeves in, it's kind of starting to look more like a shirt. So now here is my right side. I'm actually going to take it and put it right sides together. And now we're going to work on our side seams. And I really like how this pattern does it because it's just one long seam for the sleeve and the side seams. So what you're going to do is you're just going to match up the raw edges of the sleeve and the raw edges of the side seam down here. And you want to make sure this seam matches. It's always nice when that lines up perfectly and just looks so good. So I'll just take my pins and I'm going to pin from the bottom down here all the way up to the sleeve. Once I have both of my side seams and my sleeves pinned, then I just take it over to my serger, and you can start at the top or the bottom. I'm just starting on the sleeve right here and start going. Now we have our sweatshirt formed. Now we just need to finish off all of our edges. So that's when we grab our other pieces like our sleeve cuffs, our waistband, and our neckband, and we're going to finish that off right now. So one thing that I thought to do that I'm going to do a little differently than I normally would is I want this raw inside edge to be what is seen on the sleeve cuffs, the neckband, and the waistband. So I'm actually going to do it opposite of what you would do. So what you should be doing right now, if you're just going to use the right side, is putting it right sides together. So because I'm using this is my right side. I'm going to put those sides together. And if you want to, you can pin right along here at the bottom. I'm just going to leave it because it's such a small area. I don't feel like I need it. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other one, lining up and set that off to the side. And while I'm here, I'm just going to do the same thing with these pieces as well. So like I said before, this would be the right side, so it would be right sides together like this. But because I'm using this side as my right side, and my fabric is curling a lot, but it'll be fine. I'm gonna line that up like it's the right side and line this edge up because this is the edge we're going to be sewing in a minute. So I'm just getting these all ready so that I can take them all over to my serger and do them all at the same time. That way they're just ready to go. And same thing with the neckband. I'm going to put it right sides together. Remember, I'm doing this meshy inside as my outside. So don't let that confuse you. So now I have them all lined up. I'm going to take them over to the serger now and serge all of them at the same time. I have my sleeve cuffs, again, right sides together, and I'm just going to serge down this raw edge. Here's my folded edge over here. And then I'm going to grab my other one and do the same thing. And the same with the neckband and the bottom band that will go like around my waist. I'm going to do the same thing. For all these pieces, we're technically going to do the same thing. They just are going to look a little different. So here I have my sleeve pieces, and again, I cut them all apart. I'm going to turn them. So here's the serged edge I just did. Here is that folded edge, and I'm just going to fold it in half so that it actually turns into the cuff that we need. And again, my sides are like wrong sides out looking, but that's the way I want it. So this is actually my right sides out. So it's going to look like that, and I'll set that one there and then do my other ones. Once my pieces are turned with the wrong sides together and folded in half, I'm then ready to place them on my sweatshirt. So I just have my sweatshirt right sides out for this step, and first I'm going to show you how I do the sleeve cuff. So I'm going to take my cuff and we're going to line up our raw edges. So there's the two edges that meet up, and I'm going to line it up with this edge. So I'm actually taking it, pulling this sleeve through, and then I like to match up the seams. So that's the first thing I do, is match that up and pin that in place. And then once it's in place, if I feel like I need to, I can pin it in other places, but a lot of times, especially with the sleeve cuff, because it's not too big, I like to just leave it as it is. I might put one more on the opposite side just so it lines up correctly. So then as I serge it, I'm actually going to stretch it to fit into the sleeve, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So I have that one pinned on. I already pinned my other one, but I also want to just show you before I go over to the serger how I'm going to do the bottom band as well and the neckband. So here I have it, and I actually just pinned it because it was rolling on itself just like this neckband is, and I divide it up into fourths. So I take, here's my seam that I have, here's the rolled edge, and then here's the openings over here. So I take that seam and put it off to the side, and then I put a pin over on this opposite side right here, and that tells me, so that's the same amount on either side. And then I line those up, those two pins up in the middle right there, and then I put a pin here and a pin here, and now it is divided into fourths. So then I can put it on my sweatshirt and it will be equal. So I usually just go off of the center of my sweatshirt and the sides. So let me find the center real quick, and we'll do that exact same thing. So my side seams already are telling me where it is divided in half. But then if I line it up like this, and I put a pin in like the front of it and a pin in the back of it, now it is divided up into fourths. So now I can equally divide it up with my band. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the sleeves. So I'm just tucking it over the shirt, lining up my raw edges, and now I'm going to match up those 4 pins. So here I like to put the side seam of the band on the side seams of the sweatshirt, so that way it just lines up and looks really nice. So I'm going to line that one up and I'll pin that in place. And pinning it, I put a few extra pins in it so that the band would stop curling, because it started curling a lot. So I just took that pin out and I'll line that up right there. Perfect. And then this pin over here will line up with my other side seam, just like that. And then I'll take the back pin and line it up with the back. Here we go. Line that raw edge up and pin that in place. And I'm actually just going to leave the rest, because then I can stretch it to fit as I'm serging it. And I'm going to do that exact same thing, just in a smaller format, with my neckband. So I'll probably divide, oh, I just turned it backwards. Okay, there we go. There's the front. So I'm going to divide this up and put it on here. Once all your bands are pinned on, now we're ready to serge them on. So I'm just going to start by showing you how to do the sleeve cuff. And I always start right before where I pinned. And I just go really slow, so I make sure everything stays lined up and I'm catching the right stuff. Because again, with the sleeve, it can get a little bunched up. So we want to make sure we're serging the right thing. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of scoot it in there. And because it's a circle, you just kind of ease on and then ease off of it. So there, I just kind of eased on. I'm gonna make sure my seam's still lined up and the right edges are still lined up. And I just keep adjusting as I go. I'm going to stretch that cuff. And then when I get to the end, I just overlap it a little bit, and then I go off the edge. And I'll cut that. And I can tie those threads off, but there we have it. So it looks just like that. So now I'm going to do the same thing to my other cuff, and then pretty much the exact same thing with the band and the neckband. So I will show you the neckband next. And this one, I didn't divide it up as equally because the front and the back aren't as equal if you line up with the shoulder seams. So just keep that in mind if you think you're lining it up equally on the neckband. That is, it's not going to be as equal if you go off of the shoulder seams. So I just kind of eyeball it and then I will stretch it to fit. So we'll do that. So now I'm going to show you how I do the bottom band, and it's pretty much the same as the rest of them, but just in case you want to see this referenced in a bigger format, but I just am stretching it to fit. So this, I need to pull, just stretch into this space right here. Then once you are done sewing on your cuff, your neckband, and your bottom band, you are all done with your sweatshirt. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more sewing tutorials. Also, make sure to check out the link down below where you can check out the Baby Lock Vibrant and other sewing machines that they have. And if you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments down below. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!